Food additive is defined as a substance which, when added to food, becomes a component of the food or otherwise affects its characteristics. Some general examples are substances that are used as preservatives, colorings, and flavor enhancers. And of these, it's currently the synthetic colors being used in foods that are causing some controversy. Food additive is defined as a substance which, when added to food, becomes a component of the food or otherwise affects its characteristics. Some general examples are substances that are used as preservatives, colorings, and flavor enhancers. And of these, it's currently the synthetic colors being used in foods that are causing some controversy. Welcome. I'm Lisa Lupo, your host of Tag Talks. Today I'm welcoming TAG's Senior Advisor, Joe Scimeca, who, with more than 20 years in the food industry, has particular expertise in technical regulatory matters. So Joe will be talking with me today about both the regulatory aspects and the federal and consumer concerns of food additives, particularly natural and synthetic colors. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you, Lisa.
So, Joe, let's just go ahead and start with a really general question. What agency regulates food additives and how are they approved for use in foods?
All right, so Lisa, the FDA regulates food additives and approves them under certain conditions of use, like the specific application, the levels, the actual functional effect of the additive. It could be a pH agent, a preservative, a texturizer. So all of that is defined in regulation. The food additives must be determined to be safe under the intended condition of use. And the safety of a food additive is set by law. The law indicates that for a food additive to be safe, there must be a reasonable certainty of no harm. And that is established through scientific evidence that is collected through regulatory studies. And typically these studies are toxicological assays performed with laboratory animals, or sometimes in vitro tests, which are tests done in test tubes, or with cells, or even nowadays with computer modeling. So in addition to food additives, there are other ingredients added to food that are called GRAS, generally recognized as safe. I'm not going to explain that, but GRAS substances are exempt from the need for FDA approval, and hence they could go to market before the FDA approves them.
Okay.
GRAS amendments were established back in 1958 because at that time, there was a flood of new ingredients coming into the market, and Congress wanted FDA to regulate their safety of these new ingredients, but not spend time on substances that were already recognized by scientists as safe. Things like vinegar, salt, sugar, baking soda, they've been used for ages. And so the Congress said to the FDA, these are generally recognized as safe. We don't need you to spend your time on them. So the GRAS substances have the same standard as food additives, the reasonable certainty of no harm. The only difference with GRAS is the scientific evidence establishing the safety must be in the public domain. Those studies must be published. And there has to be a recognition by the community of food safety professionals that there's a general recognition that the substance is safe. So that's done instead of relying on the FDA. But regardless, all food additives, GRAS substances, and color additives, which we'll get to in a little bit, must be disclosed on the label of the food.
Okay. Okay. So, and color additives, which we're really going to focus in on today, both natural and synthetic, they follow a particular regulatory pathway for approval, correct? So can you discuss that a bit and the difference between natural and synthetic?
So color additives under the law are not considered food additives. They're
Okay.
separate. They have a distinct regulatory pathway. The other interesting thing is color additives cannot be considered grass. So
Okay.
color additives are added to food for many reasons, including to enhance the natural color of foods, to offset color loss that may occur during manufacturing, to improve color variations, and also to provide color to foods that lack any color.
Okay.
So color additives are divided into two distinct categories. There are so-called natural food colors because they are selected and sourced and prepared from agricultural products like spices, fruits, and produce. And the other category are synthetic or artificial food colors because they are man-made using organic chemicals that originate from petroleum distillates.
Okay. So some of those color additives do require FDA certification. What's that and when might it be required?
So the synthetic or artificial colors require certification by the FDA. These color additives are the ones you see on food packaging labeling as FD&C2,
Okay.
FD&C3. FD&C means food, drug, and cosmetic. Certification is not the same as FDA approval. Certification means FDA chemists have tested a batch of the color and found it to meet the required standards for composition and purity set by the regulations for that color additive. FDA scientists evaluate every batch of those colors for physical appearance, and they chemically analyze it for purity, moisture, unreacted intermediates, other impurities besides the main color, and heavy metals, things like lead and arsenic and mercury. So they're very carefully analyzed. Lastly, I want to say, although it's commonly believed that in the United States, the FDA approves more synthetic color additives for food use than other countries, including some that are prohibited in other countries, the
Mhm.
reality is quite the opposite. There are 9 synthetic food color additives that are currently approved in the US, compared to 10 in Canada, 14 in Australia and New Zealand, and 15 in Europe. So by no means are there more synthetic color additives in the United States.
Okay. So I did mention, back at the beginning that there's been controversy, and it's really risen primarily over synthetic colors, of course. Why?
So the concern over synthetic color additives and a potential association with something like ADHD, attention
Mhm.
deficit hyperactive disorder, has been occurring for decades.
Okay.
However, there was a landmark study conducted by researchers at the University of Southampton in the UK in
Mhm.
2007 that examined the relationship of synthetic color additives and neurobehavioral effects in children. And this study really brought the issue to the forefront.
Okay.
This observational study examined these neurobehavioral effects on a mixture of food colors. So it wasn't one at a time. There were a mixture, some of which are approved in the US, and some of which are not approved in the US.
Okay.
It also included the food additive sodium benzoate, which is not a color. While these researchers concluded there was a link between the color additives and children's neurobehavioral effects, in 2019, the FDA assembled their own experts and
Okay.
concluded that certain children do uniquely react to color and other food additives, but there is no evidence to indicate there is an inherent neurotoxicity with color additives. This expert panel also advised the FDA against adding extra warning labels on foods with synthetic food colors, that was put in place in Europe. So beyond the neurobehavioral concerns with certain synthetic food additives, there are a few food colors that have been associated with other health effects. For example, tartrazine, which is FD&C yellow number 5, so you'll see that on some foods, is most directly linked to human health concerns due to an association with allergic reactions in some individuals. So because of this potential health concern, products containing tartrazine or yellow 5 must bear a warning statement about that health effect.
Okay. So also in response to some of that controversy, FDA has conducted some further post-market evaluations and is now working to phase out or revoke authorization of some of the synthetic colors, while also approving new natural colors. So can you go into that part of it a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. The FDA has been very responsive as of late with concerns around synthetic food colors. So they recently implemented an initiative to phase out the use of synthetic food colors. And they're doing this by working in collaboration with industry to eliminate 6 color additives. These are the F, D, and C colors from the food supply by the end of 2027. So gradually over time, you'll see these eventually eliminated. You may have heard there are some food companies that have already taken positions that they're going to take out their artificial food colors. In addition, because without these colors, we're left with some foods that don't have the color that would really be expected. The FDA plans to approve 3 new natural food colors. And these are pretty obscure, but I'll tell you because you may start to see them on labels. The first one is Gaulderia extract blue, comes from a plant. Second one is butterfly pea flower extract. And the last one is calcium phosphate, which is a chemical, but it does exert a certain color. So these are going to be new natural ones. And you'll start to see those very soon. They're very close to being approved.
Okay. And I know there are some companies who are starting to at least talk about getting rid of the synthetic colors, and kind of most of them are at least a year or two out because they've got to reformulate, but there are some who are beginning to talk about that. So I suppose these natural colors will be where they're going to be able to still make the food attractive.
Absolutely. And, the initiative to phase out the use of the synthetic food colors is not banning them. They're not revoking them. They're just going to stop using them. And it is a cooperative effort with the industry. And so we'll see this occur over the next year or two.
Okay. Thank you so much, Joe, for all your expert insights on food additives and colors in particular. But with all the consumer concern and federal focus on the topic, it really seems critical that manufacturers fully understand what the requirements are, know what's in the ingredients they use, and even where things are going. So could you provide some information on how TAG helps with this?
Absolutely. TAG has a group of experts that are familiar with the regulations, that keep abreast of the emerging regulations, as well as other technical scientific experts that are familiar with the safety of these substances and can really help companies in understanding what is the true safety and start to negotiate that. In addition to color additives, we didn't talk about other food additives.
Right.
And we're going to start to see similar activity by the FDA to phase out other food additives. And certainly the Atchison Group is well positioned to help companies in negotiating, what's occurring by the FDA and what other potential compounds could be used in place of those food additives.
Okay. Thanks again, Joe. And I also want to thank our audience for listening in. We hope that we've given you some new insights on the often complex world of color additives. And as always, to stay informed on all things food safety and ensure you don't miss any episodes of Tag Talks, be sure to like, follow, or subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, whatever your favorite podcast platform is. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Lisa.